Greetings, everyone. My name's Joel Peed, and we're at a men's retreat here in Wisconsin, and I'm sitting here with a couple of my good friends, Don Split, Steve Sandin, and Tim Bernicki. And with these amazingly spiritual men here, I thought it'd be great to talk a little bit about Sabbath. And all of us have experimented for a number of years, some more than others, with how to enter Sabbath delight and rest. And what I thought it would be really neat to do is just have the guys share what's kind of been their journey with Sabbath and maybe some mistakes they've made, some things they've learned, and a few practical tips that they would have for all of us as we make every effort to enter Sabbath rest.
When Joel presented this idea about Sabbath several years ago, actually, we were at another retreat, a staff retreat, and I actually chuckled, actually laughed at the idea. I thought it was a bit crazy, but we had a lot of freedom in our area of ministry, and he went after it, and I felt great about that. And God really humbled me because I in the next few years I saw how badly I needed to take a break and connect with God. So then I had a much stronger learner spirit from Joel and others. And it's been an incredible blessing in my life, but it's taken me a quite a bit of time to actually learn how to relax on my Mondays. It didn't come easily, and many times it still doesn't. But it's been such an incredible blessing, really strengthened my walk with God, strengthened my marriage. So I'm all for it now, and I think it's one of the greatest blessings in my life, and we're really grateful for his ministry.
Is there anything, Steve, that you have found recently that has helped you, like a practical that has helped you just set up Monday for a great experience?
I think each person is unique,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember listening to your teaching and then think, I got to do exactly what Joel does. And so then it wasn't working great, but then I go, okay, I'm a different person. And like the last time I went on a 5-day retreat, I got so lonely because I just can't be alone that long. So then I included some people, a couple times with people in that retreat, and it went much better. So I think you just got to figure out what works for you, as long as you get that special private time with God and plenty of it.
Thanks.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. It's a learning curve.
Yeah, absolutely. And
For sure.
forever, probably.
Yep.
Yeah, I kind of feel like in addition to getting time every week in Sabbath, I think kind of the crown jewel for me on an annual basis is in the springtime to take several days off to go out into the wilderness and to reset and kind of envision the year ahead and consider the past year, and what I'd like to hang on to, what I want to build on, and what I need to get rid of. And usually it takes me about 4 days. The first 2 are just I always go out to the wilderness. I used to go alone, and anymore it seems like I'm more drawn to taking another spiritual man along, with the understanding that this is for me to be alone, and we'll enjoy each other's company on a minimal basis, but really this is just sort of an independent retreat. But it's nice to have someone around for safety, and after a couple days, you get if you're just completely alone. At least for me, I kind of crave human interaction a little bit, and so those are the times that really propel me into the year. Help me do so with vision and purpose, and it helps me evaluate just every single facet of my life. That's my walk with God, my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my boys, my relationship with the church, and that sort of thing. And it just helps me live purposefully. And it's hard for me to do that in the throes of everyday life, around the house, around my business, around the church. And so to get away and to get a quiet place is paramount for me.
I think for me, we've been here, my wife and I, a year and a half now. And I heard Joel talking a lot about Sabbath. And for me, struck me as I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I have the time to do that or if I necessarily believe in that. And then as I heard more and more and more about the discussion, I realized that in my own way, I was doing that. And what that means for me is that I take Tuesday each week and I set aside that day for fasting and praying and reading my Bible extensively. So what that looks like practically is I get up early. I don't watch any TV. I don't practically read sports. I don't do some of the things that I would normally do. I have a great quiet time that morning, and then that night when I come home,
Did you work a full time?
yes, yeah, I
Demand
work 10-hour days, and so when I come home, I set aside about 3 or 4 hours specifically to read several different types of books, spiritual books, read the Bible, and then I spend a good amount of time in prayer that night specifically. And when I first started doing this, it was something that I really did not like doing. It was a discipline that I was unhappy with, but felt like God was putting on my heart.
Mm.
I needed to do more in my relationship with Him than just the norm of what I'm doing.
Mm.
And what used to be something that I didn't look forward to as I went through this day of fasting and praying and being with God, I began to realize that it was actually centering my week. It was actually the most important day of the week for me. So what went from a discipline to a difficulty became something that really grounded me, really helped me, really met my needs for myself, to still myself, to be calm, to be quiet, and to get the very lengthened time with God that I needed. And so it went from something that I felt like I had to do to where now I feel like I need my Tuesdays. I need that time to walk with God, to wrestle through my heart, to relax, to be at peace in my soul, to pray about the things that are lingering, that are difficult, that I really need to embrace. And so without realizing, I'm doing the Sabbath, I realize I'm doing the Sabbath, but just doing it in a different way. It became something that I am doing that really has fulfilled me. My wife calls it monk mode. I go into monk mode on Tuesdays.
That's a very
because I'm
We still say, yeah,
I'm doing the things that I feel like are meeting the needs of my soul. And so I'm very grateful for the teaching.
Yeah.
Because it is something that now I get to experience.
I think it's really what I'm hearing with each of us is it's a different experience. We're all made differently, and that's okay. I think what Jesus did is he recentered the Sabbath away from rules and put it onto himself. And then what the New Testament does is Paul removes the judgment, the identity marker away from it, which fills it with the Spirit and frees it to be what really, as Jesus said, it's a gift designed for humanity. So because all our humanity is different, it can look differently. And so, but what I love though is it's like anything you start, it's going to be
awkward.
yeah, it's just going to be, but you got to stick with it. Like keep at it and it starts to really come alive for you. I have a question. Tim, you mentioned this in the forward of the Sabbath book. You talked about when a leadership, not just a minister, but a leadership experiences and there's a culture. Could you speak a little bit to how do you feel like that affects the whole church when there's a rhythm and a pace of deeper spirituality?
Well, I think there's a fruit to that. And I think the fruit of it is a peace that transcends day-to-day worry. As leaders, there's what we say and there's what we do. And what we do often speaks louder. And I really feel like it's what is witnessed by the congregation is less anxiety it's so hard to lead. It's a very difficult job. But when we spend ample time at the feet of Jesus and we come down the mountain, where there's chaos, we can then set the temperature, and it's contagious.
Thanks for that. I think it creates a base of healing that is not something we just do. Like, oh, I'm gonna have some healing. Yeah, it's creating the space and the pace to allow the Spirit to really do His job. Guys, thanks so much. As we wrap up, anything else that's surfaced on your mind that you think that you can think practically? Boy, when I turned my phone off, or when I told my wife, "Hey, Tuesday nights," or any last practical thought about how to enter this space?
Yeah, I think turning the phones off, all that is super, super important. But I always take a really good book, and like this week I'm going on a 4-day getaway, and I found a really good book to read, and that really makes a difference. And I don't work on sermons or classes or lessons. It's for me and God to connect. I think that's really important too.
Yeah, great.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah, I think for me, that's not going to eventually be what it starts out to be. You're going to start it, and it's going to evolve into what it becomes.
Yeah.
I think for me, what it started out as, it did not start out at what it is right now. I started over here, and through years of doing this, I've arrived at this point in time. And I think we can all start off with our journey of the Sabbath and have hopes and expectations. There's not a right or a wrong way, that eventually you'll get to where you want to be in regards to what does this day, this time mean for me. Yeah. And I think that's God working with us and our circumstances to get us to this point where we can ultimately spend great intimate time with God, with Him in our circumstances that He blesses. He gets us to where we need to be within our Sabbath rest.
For me, it's constantly, there's a need to remember to be still. I'm wired to, okay, I'm out on Sabbath. I need to dig in and read a book and write things down and make a plan. And those are all ingredients to it. But I think it all starts for me with being still, like trying my best to shut my brain off, going for walks, closing my eyes, breathing, and just slowing down the train that's in my mind to get me to a posture where I can have effective planning and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Just to wrap up, obviously we're all kind of like older guys. This is for not just for ministers. It's not just for leaders. It's for people who work demanding secular jobs. But just to wrap up, my daughter, who's a 19-year-old college student, sent me a text about her Sabbath practice. And she talked about how it has changed her life. And she can't wait for her Saturday evening to Sunday evening time. And she gave the illustration of that it stops her from sinking as she looks up to Jesus, and he pulls her back up to the surface so she can walk on water. And I just was so moved by that. What a great illustration for me too. That's what a Sabbath does. It's a place of restoration, a resetting, a renewing. There's so many good words to describe it, but I hope you experiment with it. And what will God do with you? How will He give you these special, unique gifts designed for you in Sabbath rest? Wasn't he supposed to not be talking? God bless, and peace out.